Hey guys, I hope everyone is doing well. This is Rudy. Hey, it looks like we had an earthquake today, and I found it interesting that the Capitol and the Pentagon were evacuated. So, for those of us who have eyes to see and ears to hear, we can see when God is sending a message to the land. For all of you atheist scoffers and whatever, go ahead and keep scoffing. But also, I want to remind us that I got to remind myself that I'm not going to fall into the trap of this. It's in the world any day now, and I think especially those that have been misled to believe in a pre-tribulation rapture, they think that they're going to get a glory ticket, train ticket out of here, a glory train ticket out of here, and that to me is a message from Satan, because it makes you think that you're not going to have to apply yourself, you're not going to have to proclaim the message of Jesus Christ. There's no need to really do a whole lot of Bible studying every day, because you're going to get to leave any moment, and you're going to be sitting at the marriage. You're going to be sitting at the marriage supper of the Lamb. And I would just say that there's been some tough times in the world before: World War I, World War II, the Civil War. So we may not have experienced any really, really tough times in our lifetime, but the history of mankind has shown they've gone through some really tough times, and we'll just go through these tough times as well. But I really do plan to live to be 99 years old, and if the Lord comes back, that's great, but I'm going to plan to try to put my house in order and to apply myself every day and to use this life and my energy to the best of my ability, and make preparations for a long-term future. But for those of you who have been tricked to believe a pre-tribulation rapture, I'm very concerned that you've been deceived, and that you're living this life as if you think you're going to be leaving any moment, and I just don't see it. But today I want to talk about courage, following orders, how people get courage, what difference it makes, and what the Bible says about, fear not. The Bible over and over again tells us, fear not, fear not. But, hey, let's start off with a Quran verse, because I think it's important to remind ourselves what the Muslims think. And the Muslims do make up a great deal of the population on planet Earth, so it doesn't hurt for us to become acquainted with their belief system. Now, keep in mind, I used to have good, close Muslim friends. I'm sure a lot of you do too, as well. A lot of the Muslims are good, kind, generous. They seem to be upstanding. I don't have a problem with people of Arabic descent. What I have a problem with is the Islamic religion, right? And the Islamic religion is from Satan itself. And don't confuse my hatred for the Islamic religion with racism against people of Arabic descent, right? It just so happens that the message of Jesus Christ is offered to everybody of every type of DNA. So there's a big difference between hating the Islamic religion and being a racist against a person of Arabic descent, right? And so many people don't seem to be able to make that discernment. But I absolutely hate Islam. I think it's a religion. It's not even a religion. It's more of a political system, a legal system, and a religious system as well, all rolled up into one. And Sharia law, and a religious system as well. So I'm familiar. I've read through the Quran at least twice, and I've read many verses that were brought up in other research material, and when I compare that to the consistency and the beauty of the Bible, there's no comparison. The Quran takes the Bible. It was written several hundred years after the Bible, and Muhammad twisted it just enough to steal its power. But let me read you one of the verses so you'll know that what it says about Jews and Christians. This is Surah 98, verse 6. Verily, those who disbelieve in the religion of Islam, the Quran and the Prophet Muhammad, from among the people of the Scripture, Jews and Christians. Now, when I say Jews and Christians, that's not me saying that. It's in here. Jews and Christians. It just calls it out. Jews and Christians and al-Mushrikin, now that's an Arabic word, I don't know what that means, will abide in the fire of hell. So Jews and Christians, along with this al-Mushrikin group, are going to be in the fires of hell. They are the worst of creatures. So Muslims think that Jews and Christians are the worst of creatures. This is an official Quran. It comes from King Abdullah. This is specifically the Quran that King Abdullah passes out. So I wanted you to know what Muslims think of you. And, I used to be friends with Muslims too. I hope I still can be, but I don't like Islam. And there's just there's no compromising the truth, right? And so their holy book teaches to commit jihad against Jews and Christians, and it just needs to be stated right up front so everybody knows that, right? They hate us, they want to convert us, and if they can't convert us, they want to kill us, right? And that's what their holy book teaches. And so everybody just needs to be aware of that. But anyway, I want to talk about following orders. I want to talk about courage. I want to talk about how do we get courage? What difference does it make? And I want to start out by reading Matthew 16, verse 25. Matthew 16, verse 25. For whosoever will save his life shall lose it, right? If you seek to save your life. Now, this reminds me of a conversation I got into with an atheist one time. He said that atheists believe that their life is a precious glass of water because it's the only thing they got. And they believe once this life is over with, that's all. And so they believe their life is a precious glass of water and they want to guard it. They want to save that precious glass of water. Like a precious glass of water in the desert is a more accurate thing, right? Whereas a Christian believes that the water was given to him by God, and that there's much more, because God will provide much more than just this earthly world. So the Bible tells us that for whosoever will save his life shall lose it, and whosoever will lose his life for my sake shall find it. Now that's a powerful verse. If you believe that if you'll just give up your life back to the one who gave it to you, that you'll find it, and that your life will become so real and so powerful and so magnificent that it just puts the old life, makes it look like as if it was dead. And that's been my personal experience. Once I gave my life to Jesus Christ, I started living again. There's a country and western song that says, live like you were dying. And, I don't know if you guys have heard it, but it's a pretty good little song, right? And, when you start living for Jesus Christ, everything your mind becomes transformed and you see the world in a whole different light. And so this is a powerful verse, and I really believe that once people recognize the power of this verse and give their life back to Jesus who gave it to them in the first place, they will find their true purpose in the world. They'll find how powerful this life is and how powerful Jesus Christ is. And every day becomes a magnificent, wonderful thing. One other thing. I went to church this past Sunday. We have a powerful, powerful church. It was a black preacher. He was a guest speaker. And unfortunately, some thieves had stolen like copper pipes from the air conditioner. So, we got crime rate going up everywhere. And they stole the copper out of not all the air conditioners. I think 3 out of 5 of them. But it was a little warm. But he gave a great sermon. He said there's two groups of people in the world. Atheists, the ones who don't believe in God, and the theists, the ones who do believe in God. But he said within inside the theists, there's two groups as well. There's those who do believe in God, right? And there's those who believe God, right? So I hope that you are one of the people who believe God. Not only do you believe in God, because Satan believed in God, right? Satan knows there's a God. Satan can quote Scripture. But do you believe God, right? That's the difference. When God says something in His holy word, when He speaks to you through your heart, do you believe what He says, right? And you should ask for discernment so you can discern the message of God from all the other voices in the world. And when the Lord asked Peter to get out of the boat, do you know what Peter said? Peter said, "Are you sure, Lord?" Right? And the Lord said, "Yeah, Peter, come on. I'm confirming that it's my voice. Come on, get out of the boat." And so Peter left the comfort of the boat and started walking on water. It's the same thing with it might be Gideon. I hope I'm right on this because I could be wrong. But Gideon asked for a sign from the Lord, and he wanted dew to appear on the inside of the skin in the morning, and it did. And then he said, "Well, I'm still not convinced, Lord. Make it appear on the outside and make it dry within the next morning." And God did. Right? So it's okay, I think, sometimes when you hear a message from the Lord to ask for confirmation, and the Lord will provide that confirmation. But in any event, how much time I got? I'm up to 9 minutes already. Time goes by so quick. I also want to, that verse, Matthew 16:25, very powerful. Those who seek to save their life will lose it, but if you lose your life for Jesus Christ, you will find it. And that's very powerful. Also, I want to read Isaiah 45:7, if I can find it here. Isaiah 45:7. Okay, this is, I form the light. I form the light. This is God speaking. I form the light and I create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. So it's, the devil can't create anything, but God creates both good and evil. And he creates a restriction or a restraining on evil. And sometimes God lets that restraining loose to let it be more effective to teach a lesson to the country who has turned their eyes away from God. So, did I read that verse to you guys about where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty? Did I read that to you? But in 2 Corinthians 3:17, it says, now the Lord is that Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. So if a nation moves away from the Spirit of the Lord, they move away from liberty. And that's why we're seeing our liberties taken away, is because we moved away from the Spirit of the Lord. Barack Obama said we are no longer a Christian nation. And so as we move away from being a Christian nation, we're going to lose our liberty, right? If you want liberty, you have the Spirit of the Lord. So we might be moving it away from it as a country, but if you keep the Spirit of the Lord within your heart, you're not going to lose your liberty, right? They can try to take away your liberty, but the Lord will protect the righteous. Even with all the bad stuff going on, all the earthquakes, I'm telling you, trust in the Lord. Pastor Manning is the one who got me to look up that phrase, trust in the Lord, and I am now shocked at how many times that phrase, trust in the Lord, appears in the Bible. And it's over and over and over again. That's one of the main things the Lord looks for in his believers, is to trust in him. That's a very powerful concept, that you have to believe what he says, you have to trust in him, and if you don't, the Lord's going to be a little disappointed with you. He wants somebody more than just who believes in him, that believes that he exists, but he wants somebody that believes him, right? If God tells you to do something, obedience is better than sacrifice. You better do it. Okay, so I uploaded that lemonade stand video, right? And I was shocked at all the people who took the side of the cops, and I think that's a representation of how we find ourselves in Nazi Germany. When all the Gestapo were doing what they were doing, nobody spoke out. And you'll hear these even so-called Christians say, well, we should just submit ourselves to government. And why do they do that, right? They do that because they don't have the courage within themselves to stand up, and so they need to make an excuse on why they're not standing up. So they say, well, we need to submit ourselves to government, right? And so when they see somebody that doesn't submit to government, it makes them look bad, so they have to come to terms with that. Well, the thing is, if we all stood up, we would get our liberty back like that, right? When Pastor Manning had the CIA, Colombian sedition and treason trial for Obama and Columbia University, if everybody would have showed up, if we had just 10,000 people, this country would be already taken back, but not many people showed up. A few people did, but not as many as I would have liked. I want to read Daniel to you guys. Daniel 3, verses 15, 17, and 18. Okay. Now this is Nebuchadnezzar speaking to Meshach, Shadrach, and Abednego. Now he's telling them, he wants them to worship an image, right? So this is like the government telling those three, Daniel's friends, you better worship the image. Now if you be ready at what time ye hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, and dulcimer, and all the kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the image which I have made. Well, but if you worship not, you will be cast the same hour into the midst of the burning fiery furnace. And who is that God that shall deliver you out of my hands? And so, in any event, it goes on to say in verse 18, or let me read verse 17. They said, we ain't going to do it. It said, if it be so, our God whom we serve will be able to deliver us from the burning fiery furnace, and he will deliver us out of thine hand, O king. But if not, be it known unto thee, O king, that we will not serve thy gods, nor worship thy golden image, which thou hast set up. These people were courageous, man. These people knew how to not follow orders when it goes against biblical law. And I'm telling you, I was going to read Daniel in the lion's den, but it's the same thing. Daniel would not stop praising God, even though it was the king's order, and they threw him in the lion's den. And then all the people that set Daniel up for failure, they ended up getting thrown in the lion's den. So I will just offer for your consideration that, when you see people standing up, rather than attacking them, you should support them. You may not have the courage that they do. You may not have the maturity. But when the Lieutenant Colonel Terry Lakins, when the Air Force Staff Sergeant Darren Moran stands up, support them. Do not tear them down. God bless every one of you. I ran out of time.